All right, I think we're good to get started.
Good morning, everybody, and thank you for attending the May 3rd edition of our Connecting Cornelius. This is our coffee chat, and I hope you have your coffee close by. I know I have mine, and it's that time of day, and I do need my coffee. So we've got a great program for everyone this morning. We're going to focus a little bit on the state and what's going on in Raleigh. The North Carolina General Assembly is in session right now, and we got two special guests. One is our own representative, Natasha Marcus. Senator Marcus is with us and will be bringing us up to date on what's going on in the North Carolina Senate. And Representative Bradford was supposed to be on the line, but he got called away in a meeting, I think related to some of the tax policies and things like that in Raleigh. So he was unable at the last minute to join us. But we have another very, very fine person and a friend of mine, Representative Jason Saine, who is the representative over in Lincoln County, right next door. And many of you know that Jason has been in the House been in the House Representative since 2011, and was chairman of the House Senior Finance Chairman, and is now the House Senior Appropriations Chairman. So we need to be nice to Jason in the House. He's had some roles where the money flows over there. So look forward to hearing his input. He's very connected, I know, to this part of the world. He's in and out of Cornelius, I know, all the time. And he's very excited about our Kane Center for the Arts as well. So we'll have Jason up in just a moment as well. But as usual, we start out getting a COVID update. We're not done with COVID yet, unfortunately. And we have had our Mecklenburg County Public Health Director, Gibbie Harris, with us for months and months now. She is a familiar face on these coffee chats every month. And she has been a trooper with us to keep us informed of the bad and hopefully the little bit better now. So I'm going to ask Gibbie to jump in right now and provide us an update. And if there are any questions, you can put those in the chat box, and we will try to get to every question. I believe, Danny, that folks can still email townofcornelius@cornelius.org as well, if you would prefer to provide questions that way. But it's really easy to use the chat room. And so just sign on and ask us a question, and we'll follow that pretty closely. So Gibbie Harris, if you will give us an update, we're greatly appreciative to you for doing that. Thanks for being with us this morning.
Good morning, Mayor, and everyone else. Thank you for having me again this morning. I appreciate the opportunity to spend some time with y'all on these Monday mornings. So I'm going to give you a quick update because I know there's a lot going on in Raleigh that you want to hear about. We are seeing slight improvements, and I want to emphasize slight. Things are moving in the right direction for the most part. Our average daily case counts are down slightly over the past 7 days. Our average hospitalizations, unfortunately, are up just a little bit, but our hospitals are still really in pretty good shape. They have plenty of capacity, so we're not worried about those right now. That increase in hospitalizations is a little bit of a lagging indicator. As we saw our numbers bump up a little bit a couple of weeks ago, we expected to see this. But as our numbers continue to come down some, we expect those hospitalization rates to come down some as well. Our positivity rate is at 6.4%, which is down. Just a couple of weeks ago, we were up to 7.7%. So that's good news as well. And our case rate per 100,000 is stable at the moment. So the bottom line is, at the very least, we're stable. In many of our metrics, we are seeing some slight decreases. And we are really pleased to see numbers going in that direction. That's fairly consistent with what we're seeing across most of the country. There are still some states that have high numbers, but everybody is either stable or moving down just a little bit. we're hoping to see things continue in that direction, but it's really up to all of us to make sure that that happens. And the way we do that is, and I know folks are tired of hearing this, but wearing your mask, socially distancing, avoiding large crowds, and getting vaccinated. Getting vaccinated is something we really need people to pay attention to. So speaking about vaccinations, in Mecklenburg County, 40% of our population is partially vaccinated. That's a big improvement over a month ago. So we're really pleased to see that. Fully vaccinated, we're at 29%. So if you remember, the governor said that he would like to see 2/3 of our adult population vaccinated as quickly as possible. We're moving in that direction, but obviously we still have a long way to go. So people really need to take advantage of the vaccine that's out there right now. We do have plenty of vaccine available. There are any number of opportunities for people to access vaccine. They can go to the county website. There's a link there that will show them where vaccine is available. Most of those sites now are providing appointments, but they're also providing walk-in opportunities. So we're trying to make it as convenient as possible for people to be vaccinated. The good news is this past week, we were able to post a map that shows the vaccination rates by zip code. And, I got to say, North Meck is looking pretty good. The two top zip codes are at 53%. That's wonderful. And the next large area right below those two zip codes is at 47%. So those are some of the best rates in the county. So I commend y'all for the vaccinations and for the fact that your population is getting out and accessing those. But that's still not 2/3. So you still got a little bit of work to do. So we continue to emphasize that, I think. And lastly, I'll mention the governor's order. Obviously, there's some improvement there based on what he's seeing in the state. There is no longer a requirement to wear a mask outdoors. The recommendation to wear a mask if you're in a situation where you cannot socially distance or you're in a large crowd, a large gathering, that recommendation continues, but it's a recommendation. At this point, there is no mask mandate outside. The mask mandate continues for inside venues. And he also increased the numbers for mass gatherings. So for inside, it's been bumped up to 100 per gathering, and for outside up to 200 per gathering. So we're moving in the right direction, and we're starting to see things open up even more. The governor, I know, wants to open things more over the next month. He's looking forward to June 1 and hoping to see more people vaccinated so that he can open things more. And we know that's what people want. So the bottom line is, y'all can help us. Everybody in this county can help us get to the place where we're more open and people are feeling freer to be more normal based on what we're seeing. And that means that we just need people to step up and get vaccinated. If folks have questions, concerns about the vaccine, please call our hotline. That's 980-314-9400. And our staff will be happy to talk you through the vaccines, give you information, help you make the right decision about the vaccines. So again, very pleased with what we're seeing in the county right now. And everyone is cautiously optimistic that we're going to be continuing to move in that positive direction. So again, thank you for having me this morning.
Gibbie, we do have a few questions for you here. First, Pete wants to know, is 53% fully vaccinated or partially vaccinated? What percentage does that represent?
That is partially vaccinated.
Okay.
But we're still seeing, we have not seen a huge decrease in the number of people that are not showing up for their second dose. So we're very positive that that most of those folks are going to come in for their second dose.
Great. And Sean wants to know, is there a link to see the map of areas that have been vaccinated? In other words, these percentages by zip code that you talked about.
Yes, if you go to the county website, again, we put these numbers out weekly and the maps are there as well. So if you go to the county website and look for the updated data report, that map will be in there. You'll be able to see it.
Great, great. Thank you very much for that.
You're
So
welcome.
any other questions from our commissioners to Gibbie Harris related to our COVID situation? Dr. Mike always has a question for you. Usually a hard one, isn't it, in the Gibbie?
Well, I just want to say I'm just grateful that we're moving in the correct direction. And, you know, as you know, I'm closely following the data. And yes, I agree with everything that Gibbie had to say. It's looking great. And, don't stop. You know, still be careful, but we have to. We can loosen up a little bit. So appreciate all you've been doing.
Yeah, and we'll be happy to work with groups that are out there that would like some clinics set up, some vaccination clinics. There was one this past weekend, I think it was on May 1st at our First Baptist Church, which they worked very hard with the county to organize. And I think they had a pretty full slate of folks coming through there this past Saturday. So thank them for doing that, and for Pastor Judge for all the hard work he put into that. That was wonderful. And I know we're working on some other opportunities for some of the mobile clinics that are moving around now with Smithville. We're working on one at Smithville Park, and we'll be doing that at other places in Cornelius. We've got to get our folks vaccinated. So critical. So thank you again. And we greatly appreciate your hard work and your assistance and your information, Gibbie. Thank you. If anything else comes up on the chat room, I'll let you know here shortly. So thank you again.
Thank you.
Okay. Moving on down the line here, I want to make sure we give our legislators plenty of time to update us in Raleigh, because you're absolutely right. There's lots going on. I think we're in the heat of the legislative session right now. We're approaching the crossover period, which I'm sure they'll talk about. And that's a pretty critical time of the legislature, but a very busy one. So first of all, Senator Marcus, we'll turn to you, and hopefully you can go ahead and link your presentation in. Danny, she may need a little help, but hopefully not. So thanks for being with us today, Natasha.
Thank you so much, Mayor Washam and the commissioners, for inviting me to be with you today. I do have some slides, so I'm going to, they help me remember what I want to tell you. So I'm sorry for hitting you with slides, but that's what I'm gonna try to pull up here now. It looks like it's gonna work. And then we go, oh, this bar gets in the way and I can't see what I need to see. Hope everybody's doing okay. I appreciate the work that Gibbie does. This has been such a long and drawn out, you know, we never expected a pandemic period, let alone one that went for more than a year. So thank you, Gibbie, for all you're doing for us to keep us safe. I'm one of the partially vaccinated. I had to wait to get vaccinated because I unfortunately had COVID. So I got to have my first shot, and I'm happy to do that. And I'm eager to get my second. I will not be one of those who only goes for one. It doesn't follow through. So this is my slide from the North Carolina Senate, talking about the kinds of things that I've been working on, both for Cornelius and for the state generally, things that I think would improve. Okay, here we go. I'm going to move forward. So that's just a quick photo of what the Senate chamber looks like. We are open for visitors still. I wish masks were required. They're not, which is very odd. But we would love to have you come and see what we do down there in the Senate. I don't think any school trips are happening yet, but we are open for business, meeting in person. This is what the district looks like now. Senate District 41 is the blue part over here, and it's all of Davidson, where I live, all of Cornelius, all of Huntersville, and parts of North Charlotte. So it goes pretty far down toward the center city. If you see here, all this blue area. Mountain Island Lake. And there are 5 Senate districts right now. There will likely be 6 when we get the new census data. So all these lines will change every year. They seem to change. We get used to one and then we have to change it up. So that's just something we're going to have to wait and see. We don't have the data yet, so we don't know what the new lines are going to look like. I hope I still get to be your senator. These are the committees that I serve on. I have a law degree, so I'm on the Judiciary Committee. That's always a helpful degree to have when you're in that committee. I'm also on Redistricting and Elections Committee, which is something that interests me a lot, making sure we protect the right to vote, making sure we have fair districts so people feel like they are voters are the ones choosing their representatives, not the other way around through tilted maps. I think that's very important. Also on 2 appropriations committees that talk about where the money should go. We are done with bill filing for this session. You can still file certain bills later, but for the most part, the deadline has passed. So now we are working on trying to get together with the other side and figure out which bills might move forward. I know, Mayor, we have some for the town of Cornelius that we would really like to have move forward, some of which seem like they should be non-controversial, but there's always reasons why bills get blocked. And so we're working to hopefully make that, get some of those moving forward. In the meantime, I'm meeting with community groups, Rotary clubs, the American Cancer Society. There's a new disability caucus that's forming in our Mecklenburg area, county health centers, which have been so important. So if you have a group that you think would like to hear from your state senator or that you would like to present to your state senator, please let me know. I'm happy to do that. I am chair of the Mecklenburg delegation. This is a 17-member group of House and Senate members who represent all different parts of Mecklenburg County in the North Carolina General Assembly. And we have listening sessions, which is the public's opportunity to talk to us about what you want us to know, either bills you want us to pass, issues you care about, maybe things we're doing well. We don't often get people to come on and tell us how good we're doing, how well we're doing. But if you'd like to join us, our next one is on Thursday, May 13th at 7 o'clock, right after the crossover deadline. There is a link there, which we've tried to make easy enough to remember. It's, as they call it, a bit.ly. And if you, I think my legislative assistant is on and she can also post that link in the chat. And if for some reason at the end of this, you want it and don't have it, just contact me at my email, which will be at the end too, and we're happy to send it to you. These are some of the bills that we are working on that directly impact Cornelius. So wanted you to know about those. Some related to schools, such as school calendar flexibility and the Save Spring Break Act. Those are CMS's requests to the state legislature to let us have some control over the calendar, both to, as we've seen during the pandemic, it was really nice to have a little calendar flexibility. Parents and students and teachers all really appreciate, for example, being able to have their end of term exams before winter break instead of after. It's better for learning and it's better for feeling like you actually get a break over winter break. The Save Spring Break Act is an effort to use, we know we can teach remotely when we need to, and sometimes there'll be very bad weather for so many days that we use up all of our scheduled snow days. And then we have to cut into spring break to do makeup days. And so the idea here would be, rather than cutting into spring break, let's do a remote work day, or let's at least give our schools the flexibility to do a remote work day and count that as a school day so that we don't have to cut into spring break. This would be for future years. The Kane Center for the Arts, Mayor Washam already mentioned that. We're trying to get some state funding for that, a few different methods that we might be able to get some. We also need state funding here for an affordable housing comprehensive plan. I think Cornelius is on the right track, knowing that it's only going to get harder to preserve and to build new affordable housing. So the sooner the better in getting a jump on that. And there is a somewhat in the weeds issue of extended vacation rental regulations, the Airbnb things that we want to make sure we don't have massive parties in nice neighborhoods that bring down the value of people's homes. And so we got a little bit of a false start. We thought that the rules chair had moved that one last week and we were going to get a hearing on it, but then he decided, no, never mind. We don't want to have a hearing on that this week. So we're waiting to see. I don't have time to list all these, but if you have questions about any that I didn't mention, please let me know. Protecting our environment is a top priority for me because I believe it is for all of you as well here living on the lakes as we do. The health of our waterways is important, both for our health, but also for the recreational value and the beauty here. So for example, we are trying to reinstate the Mountain Island Lake Marine Commission. Would love to have your help with this, Representative Saine. Mountain Island Lake is the main drinking water source for Charlotte. And it is, of course, a beautiful body of water right along our border. And so we believe that the Mountain Island Lake Marine Commission should be reconstituted. It fell apart when the parties, there was some personal conflicts and people walked away and the commission fell apart. And so it's been several years since there's been a Marine Commission for Mountain Island Lake. We have a very active one on Lake Norman, and we feel like it's a shame that there isn't one for Mountain Island Lake. So we're working to try to reconstitute that. We have Gaston County and Mecklenburg County really wanting to do that. So far, Lincoln is not interested. I think they have less, they less shoreline, maybe that's it. But we're hoping we can get that reconstituted. That bill should be moving this week or next. You all know about the terrible pipeline gasoline leak in Huntersville. You may not know, but it is the worst such leak in the history of North Carolina, and one of the worst in the nation right here in North Mecklenburg. And it caused me to say, well, what could the state have done to stop this from happening? Right now, we rely on the federal regulators and on the company itself to monitor these aging pipelines. It's over 40 years old. And obviously that monitoring system did not work. It was leaking for quite a while, we believe. We still don't know how long, but we know long enough for 1.2 million gallons and more to leak into the soil. And that's just not okay. So I'm hoping to have the state step up and play a role as well, because I believe that the people of North Carolina expect that from state level regulators. So DEQ could do this if they were given the authority and the budget to do it, to monitor this pipeline. It's not going to happen again in our area, most likely, hopefully not ever again, but it will impact someone else in our state when it leaks again. And so I'm trying to look out for our state's environment. Coal ash, we still use that as structural fill without a liner in a lot of places. I think that is dangerous and we should change the law on that. Polluters pay is a bill we filed to make sure that when any corporate polluter creates a hazard, whether it's gasoline or coal ash or anything else, that they are the ones that have to pay for it, not the ratepayers, not the nearby property owners, and that they have to provide other water sources, drinking water, if they have impacted the water resources, like has happened in some cases in Huntersville. So lots of other environmental related bills there, but I don't have all the time in the world, so I'm going to move on. These are just highlighting some of the top ones that we've talked about. This was a slide we put together for Earth Day. Healthcare is also a top priority. This map here is from the study that's been happening in the town of Huntersville, where we're trying to figure out what is causing this terrible medical mystery of high number of cases of ocular melanoma that is literally killing young women and mothers in our area. It is one of my top priorities to get some state funding and some state attention for this local emergency. It is similar to the gasoline leak in that others around the state don't notice or care or know about it too much because it's not happening in their district. And that's a shame. We should work more collectively, I think. And my bill would provide funding, not to the town of Huntersville, because I think they would agree with me that they are not the best suited to do this pretty detailed and high level environmental testing that we need to do to figure out the cause, and instead to send the money to the Nichols School of the Environment at Duke University. Those are the same folks who are studying the thyroid cancer cluster up in Mooresville. And I think it would be really good for our area to have some experts on the ground here figuring out what's causing it. Lots of other healthcare related things. Top priority for me has been closing the Medicaid coverage gap. We have about, last estimate, 600,000 people who are without insurance, but they are working. They make too much money to qualify for Medicaid and not enough to qualify for subsidies under the Affordable Care Act, and we should cover them. There's an extra $4 billion, I think it is. It's some huge number. I should write it down because I always forget. It's so big I can't remember, but it's a lot of money offered from the federal government as an added incentive. So it would cost us nothing to cover people and keep rural hospitals open and make us a healthier population. And so we really need to do that. There's no good reason not to. Lots of other healthcare related things, but I'm going to move on so I don't dominate all our time. This is just a little bit of information specific to North Carolina and what expanding Medicaid would do for our economy. It's not just about covering the people who need insurance. It's also a job creator and another reason why we need to do it. Public education is always top of mind. I know CMS made a somewhat controversial decision. Well, I was away for the weekend, but I heard about it, which is to not allow certain end of year performances. So if your kids are in the arts, they're saying you can't have your band performance or your theater performance, which is very frustrating because sports have been happening. Most sports have been happening. And as a parent of someone who did theater, children who did theater in school, I completely understand the frustration there. All I can say is contact your CMS representatives on that. That's not something that we make a decision on at the state level. That is a decision at the superintendent level. So I'll just mention it to let you know that's happening and where to take your concerns or maybe your support for that policy. I won't tell you what you should think. We have several public education related bills. I don't think teachers are paid enough, especially lately when they've been asked to teach both online and in person with a mask and risk their own health to do so. And I think they deserve to be paid higher than, I think we're number 36 in the nation right now for teacher pay. And they need help. Not only do we have a teacher shortage, but we don't have enough social workers and school psychologists. And as kids are coming out of this pandemic, we know that the need is going to be huge. Suicide rates are up, unfortunately, general depression, and there's more than a teacher can do. We need school nurses. And the kids deserve that, and the teachers deserve that. So we're hoping we can do better. We're way behind what the recommendations are for a number of school psychologists and others. We're working on a bill down there toward the bottom, the state surplus property computers for nonprofits. That's the Eliminate the Digital Divide folks and others like them who will refurbish computers and provide them to families at very low cost. But they need more supply of the computers. And so state surplus has them, and what they often do is sell them for parts. And we think it's much more beneficial overall if we can instead allow these refurbishing nonprofits to turn them into they can get another 10 years out of these computers. And so we'd really like to get that done this year. My bill is moving as part of another bill, and we're hoping to get that done. Criminal justice reform and judicial related things. This is a big topic for a lot of people. You know, it's in the news all the time about a lot of the bad apple cops who are allowed to be rehired in a new place, maybe without the knowledge of their new employer about past complaints. That has got to stop. And right now we don't have a good system to weed out the bad apples. I know good cops don't like bad cops. And so we do have some by partisan agreement on some of these things that we're hoping to move forward with. There are lots of small bills. There are some large. The ones I have in the box there is a sweeping Equity and Justice Act that would incorporate a lot of the changes that the there's a task force that looked into this to say what really would help, what would keep us safe. And by us, I mean all of us, people of color and white people up in the suburbs. We all want to be safe from police and by police. And also we need to make sure police feel safe to do their job. So there's an issue around when should body worn cameras footage be released, for example, like we're seeing down in Elizabeth City. So we're working on all these things. We also think that it's time to legalize the use of medical cannabis, which has been proven to work better than some prescription medication. And North Carolina, I believe, is way behind on that issue. And we're hoping we can get some progress on that. So that's on that topic. Women's rights, I will mention, because there aren't very many women in the General Assembly, and these issues often get overlooked. When we file the bills, they usually get ignored, but I'm not going to ignore them. I'm going to mention that we have some important things that we need to work on, and better funding for rape victims. Right now, sometimes women go through the, well, it's not just women, but I'll say generally women and women go through the terrible experience of being raped and then end up having to pay out of their own pocket for part of the cost of the post incident investigation, what they call the rape kit. And when I heard that, I thought that's outrageous. We could at least increase the funding so it doesn't come out of their pocket. The Equal Rights Act, we've been trying for decades to get that passed, which would simply say that that there is a constitutional right to equal rights for women. And I can't believe we don't have that, and I can't believe we can't get agreement that we should. But we're going to keep pushing on that. That's my cursor. Okay. There is a need, I think, for more equality in our state. We want to be a welcoming state so that we can continue to attract businesses like Apple that just announced a huge new campus that's going to be in the Raleigh area. Unfortunately, they picked Raleigh over the Charlotte area, but that's okay. It still helps our state. And we want to be a state that is welcoming. So as kids are coming up and deciding if they're gay or straight or somewhere in between, we want them to know that they are welcome here in North Carolina. We value them, and that our state will treat them equally. So this is some of those issues. We also have an effort to have the Dreamers. So these are students who are doing well enough in our public high schools here in North Carolina that they've been admitted to the UNC system to attend college. And right now they are, if they can't, if they're undocumented because they were brought over as the border as young people, even though they've been in North Carolina perhaps their whole lives and graduating from a North Carolina high school, they are charged out-of-state tuition, which is the equivalent in a lot of families of saying you can't go to college. We believe that they deserve to be charged in-state tuition. We want to keep those smart young people here in North Carolina. This is just to highlight the fact that our area, Huntersville area specifically, is getting noticed because of this giant leak. A lot of people aren't aware, you know, outside of our area that it happened, and what a huge environmental hazard it is. I think there's the people who live in that area have felt frustrated that they are getting information that is not put through a filter by the company that is responsible for the leak. So I've done my best to keep people up to date. If you want to be part of the listserv of people who I email on a regular basis when I get information, let me know. I'm happy to add you to that email list that I keep. That's my email down there in the box at the bottom, natasha.marcus@ncledge.gov. I'll say it again at the end because I know that's a lot. Election protection, I talked a little bit about this, but Maps are going to change. We should have fair maps when we draw them. We shouldn't allow legislators to get in there and decide, oh, I like that precinct because those people vote for me and I don't like that precinct. So move those people out of my district and make sure I get to keep my seat. That's exactly how a lot of legislators think, which is why I think legislators shouldn't draw the maps. And I'm going to be part of that committee that is going to try and get us as fair a map as possible. We are picking up a congressional race. That news broke about a week or so ago that our state population has grown and we're going to have an additional congressional seat, as well as there will be shifts to the state legislative map. We think automatic voter registration is a good thing. So when you turn 18, you are registered to vote. You don't have to vote, we can't make you vote, but at least we can make it easy for you to vote by registering you. So that's one bill that we're hoping to do. And I'm opposing, there's a bill out right now in the Senate side that would throw away mail-in ballots if they arrive after Election Day, even if you voted and filled it all out and did everything you're supposed to do and got your witness and mailed it in even a week ahead of time. If it's late because of the mail and it comes in even one day after Election Day, this bill would say throw it out. And I just think that that is the opposite of election integrity. So I'm fighting that bill. COVID relief, we are continuing to work on that. The federal money is coming in giant chunks of money like we've never seen, numbers that are hard to believe. But we want to make sure North Carolina gets our fair share. We want to spend it well. This is the first time that we're seeing direct money to help local governments. So Cornelia's board may be interested to know the amount of that. Now this is, over all local governments, but will be about $3.38 billion worth of funding for local governments, which of course, have restrictions on how they can raise money and have need to hire police officers and firefighters and do the things that local government does for you. So we continue to work on that. We're trying to be fair with how we spread that federal money out. Sometimes it's flexible and sometimes it's not. So we're all in the process right now of putting in our 2 cents about where the priorities should be. And we'll see what we're able to come up with. And hopefully there will be a bipartisan effort to come together and make some good choices for our state. So this is how you can reach me. I do a Senate newsletter every other Friday with people who get it, particularly if they like policy. I get a lot of good feedback on it. It's very detailed. If you got my newsletter, you would already know about all those bills, some of which I didn't have time to talk about today. So if you want to sign up, please do so. You can start that process by texting Senator Marcus, all caps, to 22828, or you can just email me at my, I didn't update that. It's not ncledge.net anymore. It's ncledge.gov. Apologize for that. Although I think if you send it to .net, it'll still get to me. And I do try to keep my Facebook and Twitter accounts updated as well when news breaks in Raleigh. So stay in touch. Would always love to hear from you. If you have things that are on your mind that you read in the newspaper and you think, why is this happening? Or I would really like for this to pass, or for that not to pass. I'd like to hear from you. If you're a constituent, please email me. I do read them all. We try to respond if we're not overwhelmed, and you can always reach me through that email address. So that's all I have as far as my prepared presentation. I'm happy to take questions, Mayor, whatever.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much, Senator, and thank you for being with us today. I don't see any in the chat box yet, but we're going to follow up with the House side of this North Carolina General Assembly equation, and that would be with Representative Jason Saine. Again, those of you that joined after the initial introduction, Representative Saine has been in the House about 11 years now. He was the House Senior Finance Chair and is now the House Senior Appropriations Chair. So he is one of the top leaders in the North Carolina House. And so Representative Saine, we're delighted to have you with us. Thank you for helping us out with the fact that Representative Bradford was out on another meeting this morning. So thanks for being with us, and we'll turn to you, sir. Thanks.
Thank you, Mayor, and Senator Marcus. Thank you for your presentation. I really enjoyed hearing it from the other side of the building there. It's great to be with you all. I'm sorry that Representative Bradford couldn't be with you, but as the mayor indicated, finance teams are meeting, negotiating right now between the House and Senate on what their package may look like in the budget. We've had some realignments there in our leadership on the finance side. Having done that before, there's nothing easy about that when you get into the negotiations with the other body. It's just the nature of what we do, and they meet a lot earlier than when I was finance chairman. I'm more of a brunch person, so I'm sure he had to be there at some god awful time this morning at 6 or 7 o'clock in the morning to start their meetings. And nothing says fun like finance that early in the morning. But it's great to be with you. We are working on the budget. As Senator Marcus indicated, we've got a lot of dollars that have come in from the feds. Those are things that we're, finding, really just finding out how those dollars are to be spent. There is a sizable amount coming to counties and municipalities, so that's important. We have our own portion of those dollars that we will direct. Some of that is kind of earmarked to be spent a certain way. Other things that are allowed are things like investment in infrastructure, such as water and sewer, but also broadband. So those are things that we'll certainly take up and look at. There's a number of proposals that are already out there, and most of these are really bipartisan issues. It's how do we spend it best? How do we put those dollars back into North Carolina? Because it's really our money. The federal government may be sending it back to us, but they took it from us to begin with. So how can we reinvest it best for the state with this one-time money, this opportunity to really do some good and to build some things that will hopefully last us long-term versus, some, short spending spree, but something where we can invest dollars that will bring back to us. We have rural areas. I mean, even in our area near Lake Norman, and I grew up on Lake Norman. I'm from Lincoln County. Mom and Dad had a place on the lake, and as the mayor indicated, I'm over in Cornelius and Huntersville and Mooresville and Davidson all the time. So it's really home, the entire region. And we have a lot of things that we'll work on together for sure that impact our region. But as we look at these federal dollars, there are places that are still hard to reach, that even broadband is not reaching everyone, and it's hard to think about where maybe you or I live, but there are folks not that far away from us. And as you look into the hinterlands and the as they say down east or the mountains, areas that are harder to get to because there's fewer people, we're finding ways to leverage some of the RDOF money, which is Rural Development. I think it's Rural Development Opportunity Fund that came down from the FCC. There's a huge investment that is matched to North Carolina with private providers. We'll try to leverage those dollars as well with some of the dollars that we've received and hopefully reach more and more of those addresses. And we're also doing some things that are really cool with Starlink. Last year, I was able to put a provision in the budget that allowed us to work with Starlink. If you're not familiar with that, Elon Musk's program to send rockets up and then distribute many low latency broadband satellites that are much closer to the earth than what you'd think of as traditional satellite broadband. So it can give fast speeds to hard to reach areas. So we're seeing that as the rollout has happened here in the first quarter be implemented, and folks start to get those kind of high speed results that maybe is afforded to us that live in a more dense area. So those are things we've done and will continue to work on. Of course, we're at a budget impasse through the last 2 years, which ultimately wasn't such a bad thing, given the fact that we were still able to fund state government, maybe not to the levels that we wanted to, but we passed many budgets working on specific areas. And then with COVID hitting, we ended up with a really sizable surplus that's going to give us some options with one-time money. Now that's still being decided how that will be spent. For those that don't know, each biennium we trade who goes first, and so this 2-year cycle, the Senate has the budget first, and we're still always working together and negotiating a lot of what will be in the budget, but they will announce their budget sooner than the House will. We'll get it and we'll look at it in traditional legislative fashion. We'll say nice ideas, but we've got our own version, and then somewhere down the line we'll negotiate and get a consensus and vote on a consensus budget between the two houses, and then send that to the governor. So that's coming. Again, dealing with that ARP money, the American Rescue Plan money, will give us, a lot of work to do. Just to be honest with you, there's a lot more work on the from a finance side. Finance versus appropriations, a lot more work on an appropriations side just by sheer numbers. But then factor in the ARP money that's come down. That will make us save many long hours in Raleigh this year. That's just part of what we're going to have to do as we come through the pandemic. I am happy to say that once the legislature decided that we still wanted to go to work last year and have committee meetings virtually and do some things that before we could actually go into session last year, we did that in the House. I think it was very wise by Speaker Moore to do that. We've continued to do that and utilizing virtual meetings just like you were already doing. The state was a little slow in getting that done. As when I first got there in 2011, I couldn't believe that I couldn't just do a meeting from my home. We've now proved that yes, we too can do that. Much like when Senator Marcus was talking about the school calendar and flexibility. When pushed, we learn what we can do and how we can perform. I will say too on the school calendar flexibility issue. My son goes to a charter school, so we have school calendar flexibility. It'd just be really nice if for the kids and how we can enhance how they perform, enhance how they succeed by having that kind of flexibility and quite frankly, giving people a little bit more wiggle room and how they structure their lives. I know that's important to parents as much as it is to the kids. So that's something we'll continue to work on. It's just been a sticking point in the legislature for a long time. There's serious considerations on both sides, but we continue to go back and forth. I'll tell you that our rainy day fund is solid because of the surpluses that have run. We've been able to backfill that. We'll continue to do that in this next budget. I know the Senate appropriations leaders have indicated they'll do as much, and we'll have a solid rainy day fund. So that's always good news for us. Highlight some legislation that we've recently passed in the House. We did House Bill 334, which was a temporary alignment of PPP treatment to the federal treatment, basically doing exactly what the federal government was doing, which for the business owners allows individual and corporate taxpayers an income tax deduction for expenses paid using a loan forgiven under the federal Paycheck Protection Program. That was something that we heard a lot from our region, from the business leaders in our region had come to me. That was a bill that I sponsored along with Representative Ray Pickett from Watauga County. And one of the rare times that you get a vote in the House of 112 to 1, 120 members, so some folks were absent and some folks that wanted to recuse themselves when they took loans and didn't feel comfortable voting for it. But 112 to 1 vote in the House is almost like magic. You just don't get that in the House. We're a different breed and very independent minded folks who you never know how it's going to go on a vote. But so we're very, very, very glad to see that. What it also does, it exempts the first $10,200 of unemployment compensation for state taxable income. So we've got that in that bill as well. So that's over in the Senate. It's been there for 2 weeks. Hopefully they'll take it up. That's up to leadership there. We also passed one of my favorite bills. I'll share with you since we're having a morning meeting. House Bill 307, which is the North Carolina time zone, observe daylight savings time all year. What it does, when we change time, I get groggy and it takes me about a month to recover. And we do that twice a year. So that's 2 months out of the year that I'm not performing at my dead level best, I don't think. But it designates the standard time of the state and when it's to year-round daylight savings time if authorized by Congress. So it's nothing that we can do, but we do seek Congress's help in helping us accomplish that. Other southern states have done that. Tennessee, Georgia, Florida, South Carolina. This all started from a National Council of State Legislators Conference several years ago, and we were having kind of a regional meeting, and some of my colleagues from around those other states started talking about daylight savings time. If I remember correctly, it must have happened just right after we switched on the clock there, and so it was fresh on everybody's mind. But we've passed this out of the House last session. It is widely popular as well, 99 to 16, and some of the folks that voted against it really wanted standard time. But to me, I'm somewhat indifferent. You had to pick one, so I prefer daylight savings time. But it's something that it's really popular. And then Senator Vicky Sawyer up in Mooresville has the companion bill to that. So maybe this time, fingers crossed, we'll get that across the finish line. And then of course we'll have to wait on Congress and see what they do. So you know how that goes. But the mayor mentioned Kane Center for the Arts. I'm a huge fan. Love what's being put together. Very excited about it. I actually serve as the president of our local arts council here in Lincoln County, and it's something that I've always supported and been a part of. My mother got my sister and I involved in the arts council when we were in school, and it's just something I've always had an affinity for, and now serve as the president here locally. I think having the Kane Center and having a regional presence like that really would serve so many people, not just on that side of the lake, but on our side of the lake, and really from all around. I think it's just a wonderful opportunity. We've got some of the bills that are looking for funding. That's something that is at the attention, at least of the House appropriators, where we realize that there's a need there, and that's one of those things where we can invest in something and get a much larger return. So I'm very excited to support that. Representative Bradford had brought it to me first to kind of get it on my radar screen, and then just last week had a great presentation that I was able to sit through and then connect some of my arts community here on this side of the lake in Lincoln County with some of the folks there that are pushing forward. So exciting times. It's never a dull moment. As you all have suffered through this pandemic, like the rest of us, I've had my second shot and been able to travel some and to go to other states and see how they're managing it. And some do it better than others, and we know where we're at. So, but fingers crossed as we see light at the end of the tunnel, hopefully getting through it and moving past it and getting back to normal life, as it were. So, but it's great to be with you this morning. Glad to stand for any questions. And if I can ever be a resource to you, be a help to you, please let me know.
Thank you so much, Jason. We really, really appreciate your presence this morning. Let me turn to just for some quick observations to a couple of our commissioners. Commissioner Miltic, you're out there, I believe. Do you have any questions, comments, brief if possible, please,
Yeah,
sir?
as you all know, I'm chairman of CRTPO here in Mecklenburg, Iredell, and Union County. Has the findings of the North Carolina First Commission, which looked at alternate or increased funding sources, because the gas tax is dwindling and is not paying for our crumbling roads and infrastructure, has either side of our General Assembly picked up the NC First recommendations or movement?
Yep, I'll speak to that, Mayor, if I can. So yes, it is on our radar screen, and I've had a number of conversations. Given the area we live in, we know how important that's going to be. It's important now. It's going to be more important in the future, and particularly as cars are more fuel efficient. We have electric vehicles that are now on the road that are as attractive as any standard regular gas burning engine. I'd love to have me a Tesla. So that's if they have a special discount program and about it, let me know. But it does cause it is going to cause us to find new revenue sources or how to achieve the level of that we've come to expect that citizens want in terms of transportation infrastructure. So there are several ideas. There's that are on the table. From a per mile usage fee tax, however you want to say it, to other options. So working closely with North Carolina Chamber, they've really taken this as part of their agenda for leading into the future and really helping legislators understand that. I think right now you're probably in a education phase for legislators. If you've never sat on a committee or been concerned with the overall budget or transportation, it might not be on your radar screen. So I think right now, as we work with legislators from across the state, we just getting them to understand just how important that is. If you come from an area of the state where the transportation is fairly easy, you might be in a rural area, you might not understand just how important this is. But I think everybody probably on this conversation this morning understands that. So it's we're in an education phase and looking at our options too. Understanding what all that may mean for us for an economy. The one thing that I think that just for me personally, what I want to make sure that we focus on is how do we get ahead of this curve, not behind it, so that even good economic times or bad economic times for that matter, we're not a state that's lagging behind, because, you know, those who want to come to our state, if we have that as a real problem, if transportation is something that is either becomes a, you know, kind of a giant sucking sound of dollars, where we're simply just trying to pay to catch up, or we're not being able to stay up front and in front of our competitors, that's something that will make it very difficult to recruit new business here, and quite frankly, to retain business that's here. So there's no silver bullet, to be very truthful about it. But it is something that, looking at kind of all the options that are on the table, and looking for new and innovative ideas. So it is absolutely top of mind.
Well, thank you. That dovetails into another thought. I mean, this area, as you know, has grown 800% since the 80s, and yet our roads are pretty much the same. And thanks to the STI, we're getting more money invested where it really is needed based on the data. But as you know, North Carolina DOT got into some money woes. Is there any option of infusing some additional monies into NCDOT? Because our roads, especially in Cornelius, are being slow tracked until we get that funding restarted.
Yeah, no, great question. And that's something that we are looking at too, with the guidelines that are coming down from the feds on some of the ARP money that has come down to us. That is absolutely one of the things that we're looking at. We want to make sure that we spend it correctly so that they don't come back later and we've got to foot a big bill for it. But at the same time, understanding what I mentioned in the conversation, investing in infrastructure, I think this is one of those opportunities where we can take those dollars, this one-time money that comes down, and reinvest it in infrastructure, transportation infrastructure in particular, that we'll enjoy the long-term benefits of that. So that money goes a long way for years and years and years. So we're definitely considering that as we look at those dollars. Your point's well made. You know, doing it the way we always do it did not work. We ended up with beautiful roads to very less populated areas, and sometimes I call it roads to nowhere, and I don't mean it to be disrespectful to those folks that live out in the out where there is nobody, but that's kind of how we did it as a state. It's beautiful areas with great roads, but just not a lot of people. So I think that is something that will be top of mind from the Senate appropriators, certainly top of mind from the House appropriators. I will say this, with the change in leadership at DOT, from the reports that we are getting, one, they understood it's a real problem. We can't tolerate it. It's not sustainable from a cash flow standpoint, and making sure that the projects go off on time. There's been a very good effort at correction and putting together or putting in place reforms that are fixing that problem so that we can continue forward. But then again, like I say, we can also use some of these other dollars. So that's exciting for us in our area. And so, I want to put money where there are people, and we'll get more return on the investment.
Thank you, sir. Let's go to Commissioner Sisson. If you have just a quick question or comment that you'd like to add.
First of all, I just want to thank Senator Marcus and Representative Saine for joining us today. The updates have been very robust, and we really appreciate it. I know that you're going to get a lot of questions coming at you, probably via email. One of the items on our legislative agenda, and Representative Saine will send you our full legislative agenda, make sure that you have that. But one that hasn't been touched on is the need to fund an additional magistrate up here in Northern Mecklenburg County. I'm very hopeful that with the census data, we're going to see that the state does need additional magistrates and that some of those will be funded. But to redirect one up here into North Mecklenburg County, so that our citizens don't have to go down to Charlotte, so that our police don't have to go down to Charlotte every time we need a magistrate. I think that's going to be a really important area of focus. I know we've spoken with Senator Marcus about this need, and Representative Saine, any help that you can provide on the House side would be greatly appreciated.
No, thank you for that. And it actually is in my notes from lunch last Monday. Talking with folks from in and around the lake that were advocating for such. I understand the need, and it certainly will be something that we'll consider. It makes sense. I mean, just exactly as you described it. We've all driven it. Some days I think I'd rather have a helicopter than a car to get, especially on a Friday afternoon, to get to downtown or from downtown up to the lake area. But understanding that having something like that also helps on other sides of the coin or the equation, if you will. Less traffic going down to town and just making it efficient for more people. I think that is a very reasonable request and something that we'll certainly look to work with you on that.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Trish. Appreciate that. Let me go to a couple of questions in our chat box, and I'll direct this one to you, Senator Marcus. Pam Jones would like to know the best way for constituents to advocate for or against a particular bill, beyond expressing the views to you and Senator Marcus. Do we contact the chairs of the committees, or how give us a quick guideline as to how we our residents could do that to advocate?
Yes, thanks for helping us get to the questions from residents. I hate to think that they've listened to us talk for an hour and can't ask their questions. So thank you for getting to that. Yes, Pam. So many ways you can advocate. Definitely let your representatives know, House and Senate, how you feel about a bill or an idea. It is helpful if the bill has been assigned to a certain committee to contact those chairs. On the Senate side, at least, many bills end up in the Rules Committee. And so that's Senator Rabin. If he doesn't like the bill, it's not going to move out of rules. It's going to die there. And so he's always a good person to contact and let him know, hey, there's a bill and it's number, whatever the bill is, please take a look at that and give it a chance to get a hearing. So if we can't even get a hearing on a bill, that's a good idea. To have a public debate about it, then I don't think we're working on a democratic system. So that's important. And then the last thing, and I know Pam already knows this, but in case anyone else is listening, is you can help amplify your voice by talking to other residents about an issue that matters to you, because if it matters to you, it probably matters to other people as well. So then it's not just one person sending an email, but maybe 25. That's even better. So those are some ideas. Thanks for the question.
Okay. Thank you, Natasha. Next one is related to nursing homes. As the personal needs money, let's see, I lost my place here. There you go. As the personal needs money for nursing home residents, which has not been increased for 31 years, been included in any proposed legislation. And I'll just stop it at that. If you just make a brief comment on that, either one of you.
I'll give it a try. That's a very specific budget line item. I know that issues surrounding nursing home care and extended care and group home living are all mentioned frequently. We don't have enough healthcare providers. Especially during COVID, I'm sure Gibbie would agree with me that there is always a need for more safety and security and assistance. So I don't know whether that specific item is in any particular budget right now. I would need to, the governor's budget, the one that I'm proposing we adopt, is at least that thick. But I'm happy to look it up for you. If you want to email me that question, I don't have access to it right here, but I don't know whether Representative Saine happens to know that specific question on the House side or not. But.
Yeah, no, thank you, Senator. And I do know that there's been advocacy work done on that, on this issue that have met with my co-chair, Donnie Lambeth, Representative Lambeth from the Winston-Salem area. We are aware of it. We understand it. I will tell you that my wife's a former ombudsman and also serves as the director of our senior center here in Lincoln County. So I get you have a good advocate on that issue with my wife, if no one else. So I am aware of it. It is kind of an in the weeds question as far as where that may be in the budget. It's certainly in the health portion of our budget, which Senator Lambeth is kind of our resident expert there. But I know that he has been in contact with folks who have also been in contact with me advocating on this issue. So I know that it is on our radar screen. To tell you where that's at the moment, I really can't. I just don't have the specifics. But like Senator Marcus, I could look into it more for you.
Thank you so much, folks. One more that I think is important, and we're going to end with this one. Is this came in through our email account? Is there any state help that can help businesses get people to fill job openings? Business is really, really hurting. And I think that I hear that every time I go out to a restaurant or one of our breweries or anything else around town. So I'd like to hear you talk about that briefly, please, and then we'll end our chat today. Either one.
That's an interesting question. You know, we run on capitalism. So the idea is offer better wages or offer better, I don't know, you know, make it more attractive. But this, as far as what the state can do, we've already changed it. So you can't get unemployment unless you're certifying that you're looking for a job. For a while, we waived that because there were no jobs to look for, and it seemed ridiculous to make people look for jobs that just weren't out there. But we've acknowledged that the jobs are coming back, and so that's one way the state has offered to help. I mean, there's a lot of jobs where people need retraining, and so we're looking at ways to try and make community college free or definitely more affordable, so people are trained to fill the jobs that we have. Those are some of the ideas I have, but I don't think we want the state to be trying to force people to take this job over that job. I hope no one is advocating for that. We gotta let people, you know, it's a free market economy, right?
Well, it is, yeah, no, thank you. And I appreciate that. One of the things, I just got back from Florida over the weekend and have been in Tennessee and some of the other states around us. I mean, there are things the state could do more, you know, to encourage. Workforce development is a priority. And that's something we're doing with community colleges, but also with our four-year institutions as well, so that you have a qualified workforce in many areas. But we also have the issue that's kind of lingering from the pandemic. And I think that's probably more specifically what the question was about. You know, quite frankly, just paying people not to work doesn't work. We are getting vaccinated. People are ready to go back to work. But when you have, you know, social programs that are you know, far outweigh the normal rate that someone would get paid otherwise, it does impact. There's no doubt that it impacts the available workforce. And so I think as we hopefully sooner rather than later move through the, you know, this process in the pandemic, we start allowing more capacity at these venues so that you know, entrepreneurs can serve their customers, serve more customers at a time, but also, you know, have access to a workforce that's somewhat sitting on the sidelines right now, waiting to see what decisions are being made. And that's some things that we can control at the State House and State Senate, but really more from an executive decision making process, what the governor does, but also what the federal government does as well. So I hear it a lot, and I've seen it a lot. I've got my favorite restaurant here in town is gone to just pick up because they couldn't get the wait staff that they needed to be able to serve their customers. So that's real. And it's not just in the restaurant industry, but it's certainly a place in the hospitality side of things that have seen the greatest impact, because I hear that a lot from them. But I understand it, but it is kind of a combination of 1-2 punches from an executive standpoint, from how things are being implemented. So fingers crossed, we accelerate, you know, the vaccinations that folks are more and more out there, so that there's more comfort in opening up the economy, so that we can get access to that workforce and so that we can get back to normal. But I certainly appreciate the question.
Thank you so much.
And we need to vaccinate so that people feel safe. They don't want to wait tables for less than minimum wage when no one's wearing a mask and more than half of our population is not vaccinated. So it all goes hand in hand. We can't say reopen and then avoid a vaccine. So we got to all work together so that the economy can come back.
Yes, ma'am. Let's get vaccinated, folks. And with that, we're past our stop time. Imagine that with this group. It's always robust when we have our state representative here with us. Great conversation. Thank you, Senator Marcus. Thank you, Representative Saine. It was a pleasure to have you as a guest this morning. Welcome to Cornelius. Welcome to the Lake Norman region in this conversation. And thank you for your time today. Thank you, Gibbie Harris. We always appreciate your input. Everybody have a great day. Have a great week here in our wonderful town. If there's anything I can do for you, please let me know. Town board is tonight. We begin with a closed session at 4 o'clock. Our main session begins at 5. Please join us online if you'd like to attend tonight. Thank you so much. Good day.
Thanks, everyone.